If you wouldn't mind, just introduce yourself just for public record. Thank you.
My name is Robbins. I'm the director of the Palm Beach County Department of Environmental Resources Management.
Welcome.
And with me this evening is Carmen Baird. Carmen is the manager of our Lake Worth Lagoon Restoration Program at the county.
It's a snip on his back.
First off, I'd like to say I express my appreciation from the county on behalf of the county to the city for the leadership the city has shown in the restoration of the water quality, fisheries habitat, bird habitat of the lagoon, as well as partnering with other agencies to make recreational opportunities available along the lagoon shoreline. We very much appreciate and value the relationship we have with the city. So here tonight, we're in support of another agreement with the city regarding some property known as the Steinhardt property, which is coming up later on the agenda. But at the same time, wanted to take an opportunity to give you all an update, and I'm just going to be a really short update on a couple of items that we're working with the city. The first one is the Bryant Park, the Mangrove Wet Islands project, and also some of the living shoreline along the shoreline in that same area. And also give you all an update on the opportunity to move some floating docks to the city boat ramp. And lastly, an update on some of the trimming issues at the Snook Islands natural area. So this first slide is, this is actually an item up later on the agenda. This is the Steinhardt property and the proposal to do some exotic species removal along that shoreline to stabilize some eroded portions of the shoreline, replace some of the exotic species with some native species, and also very important that Mike has emphasized to us to look to see if we can increase some parking opportunities by taking out some exotic species along that shoreline. So that will also be something that after this agreement we'll continue to work with your staff to accomplish and chase down some grant dollars to get done. On the next slide is more of an update that I wanted to just touch on relatively briefly, and going from north to south. Wanted to let you all know that the island project, which is, everyone knows is underway, no one can miss that. It is scheduled to be completed in May. The mangrove and seagrass restoration is coming along very well. I'm hoping we may actually work a little bit ahead of schedule and complete a little bit before the end of May. At the same time, we've been working with the city on a plan to restore some portions of the seawall, and in particular, I just want to touch on the northerly portion right now. We've been working with city staff, and also we did a joint grant application with Michael Singer Studios to create a living shoreline in this area, and we got that grant to create this living shoreline in this particular area. And generally what living shoreline is, it's an opportunity to take a vertical seawall, stabilize it, strengthen it, at the same time add some green components to it. So on this particular area, the line shown in red is essentially riprap, rock riprap in front of the seawall to strengthen the seawall, add a little bit of habitat, break up some of the boat wakes and waves that hit that seawall. And then more in the center is a little bit of an opportunity for a planter area. And that's where Michael Singer Studios comes in, and he was leading the way to get a National Endowment of the Arts grant. First time I have ever seen a National Endowment of the Arts grant go to an environmental restoration project. But something that he's going to take the lead in designing, and we'll work with y'all's staff to bring that back to you. So that is in the works and is funded. Just a little bit south at the boat ramp, shown in yellow, is an opportunity to bring some floating piers down to the boat ramps on piers. And I'm going to zoom in on the next slide. But right now we have some floating docks that are underutilized on the north side of the bridge. And we're going to see if we can convince the county commissioners to let us take some of those underutilized floating docks, bring them down here where they would certainly get a lot more utilization, where they're more urgently needed. And then south of there, this is an area that we're still working with your staff and the residents on. Another opportunity to strengthen the seawall and to bring some green components to the seawall. Again, the areas shown in red are areas where rock would be added in front of the seawall to stabilize it. Shown in blue is an area to add some planters to that seawall. And just wanted come back to that topic, but the next slide will be zooming in on the boat ramp here, just to show the exact location on the south side of the boat ramp. We would bring in some floating docks to increase the functionality and usability for users of that boat ramp. And now for the next two slides, just kind of wanted to give an idea of what, when I say a living shoreline along the seawall, what it is we're thinking along those lines. Shown in red on the previous graphic is the rock riprap that would go in front of the wall, strengthen the wall, and then spaced at intervals would be an area where the rock goes away from the wall with an opportunity to plant mangroves or grasses in that area. In this particular slide, there are mangroves shown in this slide. This is an artist's rendering. It doesn't look like that today, at least our version of an artist's rendering. Mangroves, though, need to be trimmed so they wouldn't obstruct view. That's something that's a little bit of a maintenance item. So as an alternative opportunity, we could go with what we call spartina. It's a grass that grows about waist high. Lot less maintenance involved in spartina planting. Mangroves would still come in, so occasionally mangrove seedlings would actually have to be removed. Still productive habitat, still green, less heavily on the maintenance. If I can switch now to my very last topic on the maintenance side, coming back to Snook Island's natural area, we've anticipated that there would be some trimming along that shoreline for a view. And recently the county went in and removed some of the larger exotic trees that were along that shoreline to help increase the view. It helped a little bit. We anticipated that there would be more trimming along that way. Trimming has proven to be impractical. There is so much shoreline there for golf course staff to keep up with trimming is really hard to do and probably isn't going to meet anybody's needs. So we've initiated a process where we've gone back to the regulatory agencies and asked for permission to actually remove some of the mangroves in areas where there are mangroves today. Areas that we thought would be that spartina grass where mangroves have come in. We're asking for permission to remove the mangroves, replace it with that spartina grass, greatly lower the maintenance responsibilities there at the same time restoring some of the views that were not meant to be lost originally. That is a whirlwind update of what we're working with the all staff, and we very much appreciate the opportunity to continue to work with you.
Thank you very much. Do you mind taking any commissioner questions or comments? Commissioner Surtee?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Roberts, thank you for coming in and explaining that, because that's in my neck of the woods, particularly Bryant Park. So I'm very concerned about that. I think you relieved some of the questions that have been coming up, and I would imagine we're probably in much more preference to the spartina. And I know that the for mangroves, it does help with ecosystems there. The quality of the water still is in question. There's not that great of fishing in that spot there yet, but I guess maybe hopefully some of the oysters and those things in that area will help. And I think the moving of those docks over there will certainly, I moved into that area particularly because it was close to the boat ramp. So I'm glad to see a new boat ramp there, and those docks will definitely get much more use because there's not even any parking for the other side of the bridge. So I think that would be great. I want to help in any way that I can to support that action that you're trying to take here. So I'm glad to hear that you spent so much time with our neighbors in the Bryant Park area and South Palm. And we really, that brand new seawall costs a lot of money, and so putting a riprap in there definitely will extend its lifespan and help us not have to deal with that for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Amoroso.
Now let's move on to my district, which is the golf course. Again, you've answered a lot of questions. Thank you. The people that live in and around the golf course, they've been talking to me for a long time about the obstructions and things that they were told that wouldn't happen. So do we have a timeline on where we think some of that might be coming up, where you'd be doing some of that replacement?
I've initiated discussions with the South Florida Water Management District. They're the permitting entity for that project. And I will meet with them on Thursday afternoon to show them, give them an idea of what it is we want to do. It is not easy within their nature to permit us to remove mangroves. And it's a surprise request coming from us. But we need to emphasize to them that in order for us to continue the practices of environmental restoration that we've done, we can't make enemies of the folks who live along the waterfront. We need to be responsible for what we told them up front.
And once again, the grasses would be more of a preference. Also, you know, I know that the water quality was coming back a lot, you know, the oysters were growing, but we got inundated with the floods from out west. Where are we with moving forward with some of those western problems we have coming into our bay?
That's a really good question, and the honest answer is we're probably years away from making a significant dent. We need to work with the Water Management District to have some other opportunities where we can chunk that water. Just yesterday, we were meeting with Water Management District. You know that they recently acquired the Mecca property from the county, which will become a water storage area. So we're looking for opportunities to move more water to the Mecca property and not put it into the C-51 canal. That's one option. The Water Management District is also developing stormwater treatment areas, and as those, more and more of those come online, they'll have opportunities to move water to the south. We've also initiated discussion with the Water Management District about the primary discharge structure just into the lagoon, the S5A discharge structure. It's a bottom opening structure, and when it opens up from the bottom, a lot of silt goes into the lagoon. Maybe there's other ways to look at that structure where it doesn't even have so much silt into the lagoon. So there's things in the works, but all of these things are going to take time to implement, honestly.
And the last question, if we remove those mangroves, are we not putting mangroves out on the islands that we're building? Can some of those mangroves be moved, or they're just really not movable?
Not practical to move.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner McAvoy?
So if you could go back to your plan view of the newer islands, that one more back maybe, yeah. So in those planter areas surrounded by blue, is the plan at this point that all of those would go to Spartina and none of them to mangrove? Or or is that open?
It is open, that's a dialogue we want to continue with you and your staff. It is not been decided.
Because I know that when I went, a large, fairly decent-sized group of folks walked that area, and certainly there were a large number of people who were very eager to see more mangroves in there. There are concerns, obviously it's a mix of benefits, but there are definitely a lot of people who feel, as probably ERM does, that the more mangroves, the better for the lagoon on the whole. So
Certainly.
I hope that will be an opportunity for those folks to voice those preferences too.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
No, I thank you all for doing such a wonderful job. I mean, there's a fine balance between our obligation to Mother Nature to protect, but also to keep the obligations and the promises that were made initially. And I know that the maintenance of the mangroves and what is quite difficult and what was planned initially, other things grew there. And so I appreciate your working with us, and I appreciate our neighborhood associations who've gotten involved in this as well, that to try to reconcile the situation, and together we can do both.
Thank you very much. We very much value the relationship we have with y'all and the leadership that you all have shown. And we go to other cities and say, look what we can do with Lake Worth. Use as an example.
Thank you.
I'd like to also compliment Mr. Robbins and Mr. Bear. We've always had a great line of communication. They're very responsive and quick. We don't always see eye to eye on some issues, but we have always seen the long-term benefits of working together, and we hold them to their word. They're good people to work with, and I think we can work through some of these issues.
I know that we will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 5F, update provided